Siwoo was just another broke graduate getting laughed at by his relatives, surviving by leveling up other people's game accounts while hunting for a real job. And every day felt like proof that everyone who called him a loser might be right. So he left home with one stubborn thought burning in his chest. One day he would prove he was not useless. But before he could change anything, his life was ripped apart by a single knock at the door. He opened it expecting nothing, only to find a strange letter waiting outside. And the moment he tore it open, black smoke exploded out and swallowed him whole while a cold mechanical voice rang through his head. Congratulations! You have been accepted as a reserve freshman of 1000x Academy. Identity verification complete. Forced teleportation beginning. In the blink of an eye, the world disappeared under his feet. And when Siwoo came back to his senses, he was already standing in a giant hall packed with terrified strangers, only for a mocking voice to hit him from the side. Finally awake? What? Were you planning to sleep through your first day? The whole place was already in chaos. Freshmen shouting that this had to be kidnapping, demanding answers, some even yelling that they would call the police, until a sharp click of the tongue cut through the noise, and a streak of steel flashed over their heads with a violent roar, freezing every single person where they stood. The man holding the blade looked completely fed up as he glared at them and snapped, "Shut up! Why is every new batch full of idiots? Does the admissions office do anything except eat? Because one idiot overslept, this class has already wasted enough time." Then he planted the sword down and introduced himself with the kind of pressure that made no one dare speak back. "This is Class 1 of 1000x Academy's first-year division. I'm your counselor, Kang Jun. All of you were chosen by fate. Here, you will be pushed past your limits, and if you survive, you'll earn the right to enter a new world." A wave of whispers spread instantly. A new world? Was this man insane? But Kang Jun did not care what anyone thought. He stared straight through them and said, "In this place, you can gain power, wealth, authority, even immortality. Enough talk. We're starting the potential evaluation now." Siwoo's stomach tightened at once. He quickly scanned the room and counted at least 200 people. This was way too large to be some normal kidnapping. So where were they? Were they even still on Earth? And that phrase, "new world," kept grinding in his mind like a bad signal. It sounded less like reality and more like the setup of some brutal game. Then the testing began. One student stepped onto the machine, got scanned, and Kang Jun glanced at the screen before saying with open disgust, "24? Trash? Next." Another student got 32, and only then did Kang Jun give the smallest sign of approval. Student after student went through, yet his face only grew more disappointed. "Only one or two of you are even worth looking at. I'm definitely filing a complaint. The admissions office needs to stop dragging people out of garbage dumps." Then it was Siwoo's turn. He stepped onto the machine with a dry throat and tried to stay calm, but while everyone else had finished in seconds, his scan kept going and going until nearly a full minute had passed. And for the first time, Kang Jun's eyes sharpened with real interest, like he was secretly hoping this slow result meant something special had finally appeared. When the machine finally stopped, Siwoo was about to step down when Kang Jun suddenly barked, "Stop! Let me see your data. You took this long. Don't tell me a treasure really showed up." But the moment his eyes landed on the screen, his hand began trembling uncontrollably. Displayed there was Siwoo's name, followed by Strength 2, Agility 2, Intelligence 2, Constitution 3, total stat value 9. Kang Jun's face twisted in disbelief. My god. Since the day I entered 1000x Academy, I've never seen data this garbage. This is the first time I've ever seen someone start with a single-digit total. You really are a once-in-a-century freak. The whole classroom burst into sharp, ugly laughter, and the cruel comments stabbed into Siwoo like knives. He gritted his teeth and snapped back that he never wanted to come to this hellhole anyway, so if they had any guts, they should just send him home. Watching him turn away in anger, Kang Jun muttered with clear disappointment, "I thought we finally got a gifted student. What a waste of hope. He's nothing but trash." Those words cut deep. From the time he was a child until now, no matter where he went, people always called him useless. Was he really going to be branded that way even in this ridiculous place too? Kang Jun reluctantly pulled out a metal nameplate and tossed it over. "With your level, entering the test is just suicide. Giving this identity plate to someone like you is honestly a waste." Siwoo snatched it from his hand, his eyes burning with stubborn defiance. "Whether I'm trash or not won't be decided by numbers alone. No matter what you say, I'm going to test myself." Kang Jun gave a cold laugh. "Still talking tough, huh? Fine. Then I'll enjoy watching reality slap you in the face. Just don't wet yourself in the test." At that moment, another student nervously raised a hand and asked, What did you mean earlier by gifted student?" Kang Jun cast him a frosty glance and replied, "That means someone favored by heaven itself. It's a guarantee of surviving in the new world. Someone born to be strong. As for the rest of you, focus first on surviving the entrance test." Just as the room grew tense again, a calm female voice suddenly cut through the noise. "You said this academy can give us astonishing wealth and benefits. I want to know what kind of price we must pay to get them." Kang Jun's expression, which had been full of irritation until then, softened noticeably when he saw who had spoken. "Sua, you have the best base stats in this batch. It's a pity you don't have a special talent, but I can answer your question." His tone became much more polite as he explained, "Here, credits and exchange points are the universal currency. With them, you can trade for anything you want." Sua quietly said she understood, and Siwoo could not help being surprised. He had not expected this gentle-looking girl to be the most gifted one in the entire group. Even Kang Joon spoke to her with respect, which clearly meant he saw great potential in her. Then Kang Joon told the freshman that anyone who wanted to check their status only needed to silently think, "Confirm attributes." Siwoo lowered his gaze to the identity plate, tried it, and in the next instant a status panel that only he could see opened before his eyes. Name, Siwoo. Student ID, 201235. Credits, 0. Exchange points, 0. Initial. Stats, Strength, 2. Agility, 2. Intelligence, 2. Constitution, 3. Physical attack. Rating, F. Magic. Attack rating, F. Natural lifespan, 83 years. Current age, 23. Remaining lifespan, 60 years. Warning, each death will automatically deduct 10 years of lifespan. When lifespan reaches 0, permanent death will occur. That shocking line about lifespan made all the freshmen suck in a breath. Some began panicking on the spot. One person cried out that he only had 9 years left, which meant even one death would finish him forever. Yet before the fear could settle, an icy mechanical voice suddenly echoed inside Siwoo's head. Abnormal energy fluctuation detected, hidden talent unlocked. Beginning analysis. He froze. A hidden talent? On someone like him, a useless nobody with single-digit total stats? He glanced around instinctively, but no one else reacted at all, so the voice could only be heard by him. Then his panel updated. Talent name, no database match. Talent, rank, no database match. Talent description. Analysis. The student's learning ability has been greatly enhanced. Current level, 1. Passive effect. Learning efficiency of all abilities increased to 100%. Active effect. Gain 1 copy opportunity. May copy any ability equivalent to F rank for 3 minutes. Talent abilities cannot be copied. This copy ability may only be activated once every 7 days. When the talent levels up, all data will improve accordingly. Since this talent has no precedent, according to the rules, the first owner of a new talent will receive naming rights. Please assign a name to this talent. Siwoo stared at the flashing prompt and thought for a moment. Fast learning, plus the power to copy. What should something like that even be called? He took a slow breath and made his choice. Then let's keep it simple. I'll call it Top Student. The system immediately responded. Talent name, Top Student. Level, 1. Talent. Rank, SS rank. Siwoo carefully lifted his eyes and noticed that even Kang Joon's scanner had failed to detect its existence. A quiet wave of relief passed through him. So this was it. This was the real card he could rely on to survive in this academy. At that very moment, one terrified freshman kept staring at his own panel and shouted, "What exactly does this lifespan thing mean? I've only got 9 years left. If dying once costs 10 years, doesn't that mean I'm done instantly?" Kang Joon walked over and slammed a fist onto the student's head, scolding him without mercy. "You idiot. Yes, that means exactly what you think. If you only have 9 years left, then dying once means losing all of it and dropping dead for real. And you think that's unfair? Stupid. You people have actually hit the jackpot. In the outside world, 1 year gone is 1 year gone, and if you die in an accident, that's the end. But here, lifespan is a renewable resource. Completing tasks, earning exchange points, getting stronger, all of that can earn you more lifespan. Understand now? This academy gives you a staircase to rewrite your fate. Power, knowledge, wealth, even the chance to extend your life. As long as you save enough credits and exchange points, then in theory, immortality is not just a fantasy." He added that as long as they remained within the bounds of Earth, this law would continue to apply. Then he cut off all discussion with a sharp voice. "Enough chatting. The entrance test begins now." He snapped his fingers, and in an instant thick purple fog swallowed everyone. When the haze cleared, the packed testing ground was gone, and only Kang Joon remained standing there alone. He clicked his tongue in annoyance. This batch doesn't even have a single student with a visible talent. Looks like I'm ending up dead last in the counselor assessment again. What rotten luck. Just then, a loud, cheerful laugh came from nearby. "Old Kang, let me tell you, our class 3 got 2 gifted students this time, 1 A rank and 1 B rank. How about your side?" Kang Joon's expression darkened, but he replied with a snort, "We do have 1 genius with an initial stat total above 40. The other man laughed and said high stats alone meant nothing because real value depended on awakening talent. Then casually mentioned the rumor that Britain had produced a double S-rank freshman the year before. Kang Joon instantly slapped the hand off his shoulder and answered impatiently, "That rumor was debunked ages ago. There's no no such record in the central database, which means double S-rank talents simply do not exist. Even S-rank talents are rare worldwide. At the same time, Siwoo and the others suddenly found themselves deep inside a dark, damp forest filled with a disgusting, rotten stench. This place was the innermost part of a goblin nest. Siwoo quickly pulled up his system panel, and the test details appeared in front of him. Mandatory mission. You are currently deep inside the goblin nest. Escape the forest and reach the safe zone within 1 hour. Optional mission. 1. Kill 5 goblins. Optional mission. 2. Kill the Goblin King. Complete the mandatory mission to gain 10 credits and 100 exchange points. Complete optional mission. 1 to gain an extra 10 credits and 200 exchange points. Complete optional mission. 2 to gain an extra 20 credits and 500 exchange points. Reserve student starter gift has been issued. Contains 1 random weapon. Open now. Warm reminder. This test carries no death penalty and will not deduct lifespan. The moment they saw that final line, the freshman almost exploded with relief. Siwoo did not hesitate for even a second and immediately opened the starter gift from the system. Reward obtained. 1 beginner magic staff. Magic attack rating F. Included skill energy ball. Using it will consume mental power. At the same time, he unlocked the skill basic wand mastery, current level 1, proficiency 0%, and as Siwoo gripped the wand, he fell into thought. So this thing could actually cast skills, and it even built up experience points. The whole setup felt exactly like the games he used to play. Wanting to test it for himself, he raised the wand and activated the skill, and in the next instant a purple energy shot slammed into a rock not far away. Right away the system chimed in again. Skill used. Basic wand mastery experience +2. Current level 1. Progress 2%. So just using a weapon was enough to increase proficiency, and with the passive boost from his SS rank top student talent, that meant his skill growth speed was twice that of a normal person. But just as he was about to cast again, a sharp pain stabbed through his head. His base stats were too low. His mana was so limited that he could barely use magic more than a few times. Nearby, another student shouted excitedly that he had activated basic greatsword mastery and earned 1 experience point with every swing. Siwoo glanced at the thrilled, muscular guy and quickly started piecing things together. It looked like using a specific weapon unlocked its matching skill. If experience could be gained just by swinging around, then in theory they could stay here, grind levels, and finish the mission later. But the system clearly was not that generous. There had to be certain standards before it awarded experience. For ordinary students, this kind of high-intensity strain would be impossible to maintain for long, and on top of that, the mission had a strict time limit. The instructor had obviously designed it to stop them from staying in one place and farming experience. Siwoo weighed the wand in his hand and immediately felt it did not suit him. A physical weapon would be far better. That would let him use his growth advantage much more efficiently. Just then, a calm voice spoke beside him. Whether it's mental power or mana, it probably relates to the intelligence stat from the test. I think the weapon you're holding might suit me more, and you don't seem very comfortable with it anyway. Siwoo looked up, slightly surprised, and interrupted with curiosity. You're Gusua, right? I'm Siwoo. She gave a small nod. All right, Siwoo. Then would you be willing to trade weapons with me? Sure, he said, but I should warn you, this wand needs precision when you cast. You have to be careful with your aim. The moment he took the short sword from Suwa, the system sounded again. New item acquired. Beginner short sword. Physical attack rating F. Skill unlocked. Basic short sword mastery. Current level 1. Proficiency 0%. As soon as Siwoo wrapped his hand around the short sword, it felt far more natural than the wand. He turned back towards Suwa and was just about to suggest they should find a third teammate if they wanted to clear the test properly. But before he could finish calling her name, a broad-shouldered boy swaggered over and looked at her with obvious confidence. Hey beauty, want to team up? I heard you've got the highest stats in the class. Work with me. My strength, constitution, and agility are all over 10. Compared to this pretty boy, I'm clearly the safer choice. Me, Wang Daerin, and you together, we'll crush this test. Suwa turned gracefully, brushed back her hair, and answered with a flat, not interested. A nearby boy and girl could not hold back their laughter. Daerin spun around in anger, glaring at whoever had laughed, then charged forward and shoved Siwoo hard. What are you looking at? I hate weaklings like you the most. You don't even have double-digit stats, yet you're standing here acting like you understand these weapons. Do you even know what you're doing? Siwoo clenched his jaw and shot back. Whether someone passes the test depends on skill. Instead of wasting your energy starting trouble, save it for the mission. Daerin instantly grabbed him by the collar. Skill? You? Fine then. Let me show you what real strength looks like. Siwoo's eyes turned cold, and a faint smile curled at the edge of his mouth. Looks like you won't get the chance. Before Daerin could react, a goblin suddenly leapt from behind him and raked its claws across his face, leaving several bloody marks. Dairin roared in rage, cursing that his handsome face had been ruined, and the moment the goblin raised its claw again, he swung his huge sword in fury and split it clean in half. Panting hard, he kept cursing the filthy creature, saying he had almost died there, then glared back at Saiwu. "You little brat, were you just waiting to laugh at me? You think a low-class goblin like that could actually take me down?" Then a rustling sound came from behind him, and more goblins began pouring out of the darkness in endless waves, a black mass so dense it seemed never to end. The freshmen, facing real monsters for the first time, panicked and scattered in every direction, while only a handful managed to stay and fight. When Siwoo's short blade collided with a goblin's claw, a hard jolt ran straight through his arm and into his chest, and in that instant, he realized the truth. This was not a game. The touch, the smell, the pain, everything was terrifyingly real. Only the setting felt like a system-generated stage. A cold wave of fear passed through him. He had been too naive. This was completely different from gaming. A normal person with no combat experience could hold a weapon and still be nothing more than a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Right then, someone suddenly shouted, "Hurry! These goblins don't seem to attack people inside the cave." Everyone scrambled toward the cave entrance in chaos, but Siwoo leaned to one side and forced himself to think clearly. For now, the cave seemed safe, but the protection inside would only last another 30 minutes. This could never be a long-term answer. He took a breath and steadied himself. He had to calmly analyze the situation. He could not just sit and wait to die. So he raised his short sword and started repeating standard slashing motions again and again, and the system voice kept echoing in his head. Basic short sword mastery experience +2. Basic short sword mastery experience +2. Just as he thought, only clean movements with proper form and force earned experience. His strength 2 and constitution 3 were awful, which meant every motion had to matter. Before entering real combat, he needed to get familiar with the weapon and push his skill level up as much as possible. Around him, the other freshmen stared at the countdown timer on the light screen and cried out in despair. Even the cave is about to stop being safe? This mission is impossible. Long-range weapons are hard enough to aim, and these monsters move way too fast. At the same time, Su-ah was calmly studying the situation too, and when she noticed Siwoo still practicing short sword movements nearby, she walked over and said in her usual steady tone, "Training like that has limited effect. At the normal rate, raising your skill to level 2 would take around 60 minutes. We don't have enough time left for that kind of shortcut." Siwoo paused, slightly surprised by how sharp and organized her thinking was. She really was quick. What she said was true. Under normal calculation, reaching level 2 should take about an hour CJ. But the corner of his mouth lifted slightly, because thanks to the extra boost from his top student talent, he was already about to break through. "Thanks for the warning, I'm really just trying to get used to the weapon. Did you notice anything about the goblins?" Su-ah looked a little surprised. "How did you know I was studying them?" Siwoo answered casually, Just like in games, you always check the monster's traits before a fight." She replied flatly, "I don't play games, but based on what I saw, these goblins have very low attack power and defense, roughly F rank. Their fatal weaknesses are the head and the heart. If you get over the fear, fighting one-on-one is not actually that hard. Everyone is just panicking because this is sudden, but if they lose the will to fight, then they truly have no chance at all." And only 2 minutes remained before the cave protection vanished. It was time to move. Siwoo gave a small nod, but just then Wang Dairin suddenly shouted, "Wait! Where do you think you're going? Su-ah, team up with me. With our stats, we can definitely fight our way to the goal. Bringing dead weight like him is basically suicide." Su-ah answered in the same calm voice, "Reaching the safe zone is not hard. The real challenge, and the real value, lies in defeating the goblin leader." Dairin frowned. The Goblin King is only an optional target. Besides, there hasn't even been any sign of it yet. If we can barely stay alive, why are you talking about some hidden boss? Siwoo stepped forward. If the system added that mission, then it means it's possible. If it hasn't appeared yet, there must be a trigger condition. It could be a certain time, the number of survivors, or the total goblin kills. Su-ah touched her chin and added, "We can rule out time. The Academy wouldn't leave such a short window for the final boss if that were the case. The number of survivors also doesn't fit, because too many have already died or vanished. The most reasonable explanation is the kill count. I think once a certain percentage of goblins are eliminated, the final boss will appear." A frightened girl suddenly stopped them and asked nervously, "Wait, why do we have to fight the boss at all? Isn't finishing the basic mission enough? The regular goblins are already terrifying. Who knows how much worse the Goblin King will be?" Siwoo slowly swept his gaze across the others and spoke with a calm, grounded voice. "Because this test has no failure penalty. If we succeed, the rewards are huge. Just running away would waste a massive opportunity. Do you really think we'll get chances like this again after enrollment, where there's zero death penalty and a chance to earn credit safely? The others exchanged uncertain looks. What he said made sense. Since they would not truly die, maybe it was worth taking the risk. They did not have many other choices anyway. But just as the crowd began to waver, Wang Dairin completely lost patience. Are you seriously going to listen to this loser? Open your eyes. I'm the real heavy hitter here. My starting total is 32. Sua responded without emotion. 32 points only makes you slightly above average. Dairin shot back angrily. Then what's your total, huh? Sua adjusted her glasses and answered as calmly as ever, 46. Can you be quiet now? Dairin froze on the spot, unable to force out a single word. Even Siwoo felt a genuine shock when he heard that number. 46. That was more than 5 times his own total. Sua then turned to the rest of the group and spoke seriously. If you want to pass this test and earn the extra rewards, then listen carefully. We can only maximize our survival and complete more objectives if we cooperate. She looked directly at Dairin first. You have the highest durability among us, so you'll take the front and draw the goblin's attention. Dairin swallowed his frustration and nodded. Those with ranged weapons stay in the rear and provide support. Form groups of 3 and create simple defensive formations. Work together and kill as many goblins as possible. Then her eyes landed on Siwoo. Before she could assign him anything, he spoke first. I'll handle guerrilla attacks. I'll pick off wounded goblins that try to escape. My stats are too low, so if I want to finish the mission, I need to avoid direct clashes. The group quickly fell into place. Wang Dairin charged first, swinging his sword as he led the attack into the goblin pack. The students, with bows, knocked arrows from behind and searched for clear shots. But before one archer could fire, a goblin suddenly lunged at him from the side. Siwoo's eyes sharpened and his body moved in a flash as his short blade shot forward and pierced the goblin before it could finish the ambush. Goblin kill count +1. The student he saved apologized shakily, but Siwoo was already thinking ahead. This was the right method. Avoid frontal consumption, preserve stamina, and strike only at decisive moments. He began moving through the goblin swarm with surprising ease, targeting only the enemies already on the verge of collapse. The others stared in disbelief. How was the weakest guy in terms of stats always managing to strike exactly when a monster was at its weakest? They assumed he was just insanely lucky, always stealing easy kills. Only Sua saw the truth. He was not getting lucky. He was deliberately staying out of the goblins' line of sight and even predicting their movements before they attacked. That could not be luck. Wiping the sweat from his face, Siwoo kept hearing system notifications in his head. Basic Short Sword Mastery Experience +6. Basic Short Sword Mastery level up. Current level 2. Proficiency 5%. He quietly thanked his past self for once buying that immersive VR2 practice setup, because without all those years of movement training, there was no way he could harvest weakened enemies this precisely. Suddenly, another system message rang out. According to database detection, you are the first freshman in this year's intake to raise a skill to level 2. According to Academy Freshman Reward Policy, you will be granted one free skill that matches your current ability. Skill unlocked. Heavy Strike Slash. Learning requirement. Strength 1 or above. Weapon requirement. Any close-range physical weapon. Skill description. After a short charge, unleash a stronger strike. Damage depends on the user's current strength stat. Warning. Repeated use will accelerate stamina depletion. Recommended interval, at least 1 minute. The moment he saw the skill and the upgrade reward, Siwoo's eyes narrowed. He was just one goblin away from clearing optional mission 1. But before he could act on that thought, someone suddenly screamed, "The goblins disappeared! What's happening?" Then a cold system voice echoed throughout the dungeon space. Hidden conditions satisfied. Activating area boss, Goblin King. In the next second, the Goblin King threw open its giant mouth and released a roar so monstrous it felt like it could rip everyone's ears apart. Visible sound waves burst outward like violent crashing tides and swept through the whole battlefield. At last, the freshmen saw the final boss in full, and the sight nearly crushed their courage on the spot. This thing was many times larger than a normal goblin, and the health bar above its head was so long it looked endless. Several students instantly went pale and screamed in absolute terror. What kind of joke is this? That health bar is longer than my life. How are we supposed to fight something like that? One student immediately spun around and tried to run. "I'm out, you deal with it yourselves." The panicked movement caught Siwoo's attention at once, and after everything that had already happened in the brutal fight before this, he knew the next few seconds would decide whether they collapsed completely or turned this impossible situation into their first real victory. By then, Siwoo had already figured out the goblins' habits. Their vision was narrow, but their hearing and sense of smell were terrifyingly sharp, and just as he expected, the noise made by the fleeing freshman instantly drew the Goblin King's attention. At that exact moment, Wang Dai-rin suddenly shoved his way forward, threw up both hands and roared, "What's there to be scared of? There are so many of us, we can wear it down." Then he swung that oversized greatsword with all his strength and charged straight at the Goblin King, but the huge commotion he made only made things worse. Before his blade could even land, the Goblin King's hammer-like fist was already crashing toward him, and that brutal blow sent Wang Dai-rin flying more than 3 meters before he slammed into the ground without making another sound. In the next instant, his body turned into a white flash and he was forcibly teleported out of the dungeon. That horrifying scene shattered the freshman's final bit of courage. Even the strongest among them had just been erased in one hit, so panic exploded all over again and people started running for their lives. But their messy footsteps and terrified screams were exactly the kind of noise the Goblin King locked onto. It immediately chased the sound, stomped down on the student in front, then raised its giant club and smashed it toward the others who were trying to escape. One frightened girl tripped and collapsed to the ground, and just as that monstrous club was about to crush her head, a beam of energy sliced through the air and struck the Goblin King's thick arm instead. The girl barely survived and scrambled away in total panic, while the sudden hit made the boss's health bar twitch slightly. Suwa clenched her teeth in frustration. "Damn it, I missed."